what happens when we make a mistake in our knitting? Let's say, for example, in this little sample, I've got a stockinette stitch fabric. And all that is a knit stitches on the right side and purl stitches coming back on the wrong side. And it creates this really nice stockinette stitch fabric. But let's say I've been knitting along and I mistakenly add a purl here. So I was supposed to do a knit stitch here, but I've mistakenly done a purl stitch. And then I've kept on knitting and I did it again. I made a purl stitch instead of a knit stitch. And then I kept on going. And I didn't realize it until after, when I just took a look at my knitting, and I noticed that I'm expecting to see the V-shaped stitches here. Those are knit stitches. But instead, in two places, I see a purl bump. So those are my mistakes. And I don't want to rip the whole thing out. So one thing that we could do is just unknit the stitches until we get to the mistake. And I'll show you how to do that. We'll take our left-hand needle. We're going to insert the left-hand needle into the left leg of that first stitch on the right-hand needle. Just insert it and slide it off. And just tug the yarn out. You don't have to tug real tight, just tug it out. And then we'll repeat that all the way to where the mistake was made. So you take your left-hand needle, insert it into the left side of that next stitch, slide it off, and tug the yarn. Just like that, we'll keep going until we get to the mistake. Into the left and tug it out. The left hand needle in, transfer to the left hand and tug out the yarn. And this is just unknitting your stitches. So now, when we get to the mistake, in this case it was a purl where there should have been a knit. The way we do that is we bring the working yarn back to the front, because that's where the working yarn is when you're doing a purl stitch. And we're going to take the left-hand needle. I want to undo this purl stitch. I'm going to take the left-hand needle, insert it into the left side through the front, though, of this purl stitch. And same thing as before, we're going to transfer it over and tug out the yarn. And I'm going to go all the way back to here to show you that again, undoing a purl stitch. So I'm going to keep going. This is a knit stitch, so in through the left side of the stitch through the back, transfer it. Oops, I missed it. Okay. Through the left side of that stitch, tug out the yarn. All the way to the mistake. The mistake was a purl stitch, so now I'm bringing the yarn back to the front, inserting it into the left leg of that stitch, transferring it off and tugging out the yarn. Now I'm going to move the working yarn to the back because that's where the yarn should be when I'm doing knit stitches. And now you can see that I've unknit almost the entire row, but I've fixed the mistakes. I've removed the purl bumps because they should not have been there. And now I can just continue knitting. Now that I've realized, oh, that purl bump isn't supposed to be there. Now we just continue with whatever your pattern is. And in my case, it's stockinette stitch. So I'm just knitting all the way across. And that's how you can easily fix a mistake that isn't too far down. Now I have, made mistakes several rows down, and in those cases, it really depends on how you want to fix it, how much time you want to spend in order to fix it. Sometimes it's not hard to unknit a few rows, and just unknit a few rows and then fix your mistake. But that's one really easy way, is to just unknit.